Hello and welcome to another ride with LanesExplorer and his Royal Enfield Hunter. And yes, the sun is shining very brightly, it has to be said, and dry roads in the main. A bit of muck and debris along this tiny little lane, and we're just coming up over the railway line. And watch out just the other side of this, because there's an incident. What's this young lady doing standing there? Aha!
Oh dear.
Yes, she'd slipped off the road. Fortunately unhurt. I'd stopped for a while and made sure she was okay. She was a bit shaken up. She was waiting for the breakdown vehicle to come, and her brother was going to pick her up as well. But all was well, apart from the fact that the car was down the ditch. Quite how it happened, I'd like to ask. Anyway, now this little lane will take us down to the A6, and from the A6 we're going to cross that up over to another little lane, and that's where I get a little bit lost. Well, I say lost, it's not really lost, but it's an area that it's quite complicated. I find every time I ride it I end up somewhere else, which is very pleasant nonetheless. So I hope you're going to enjoy this little ride, despite the fact that the camera is picking up some flare because it's so bright, and also I think it must be a combination of the mirrors, but also my reflective arm thingies I've fitted to my jacket using Velcro. And these actually I bought, they're armbands for runners and cyclists, elasticated, but they don't really work on a motorcycle jacket. And I thought, well, how can I best do this? So I've actually Velcroed them to the arms of this motorcycle jacket, and the reason for doing that is because although I have also an Oxford bright green over jacket, which is waterproof and very nice quality, it means I have very poor access to all the pockets that are in my normal motorcycling jacket. Also, when it's warmer, that jacket's too hot to wear over my normal riding suit. So I thought, well, what can I do? I'll try these armbands. As I say, they didn't really do the job. But I've also noticed that car drivers, when they see someone with a bright green jacket, they almost ignore you, thinking to themselves, oh, he's going slowly. Well, of course I do ride slowly, but that's not the point, is it? They pull out in front of you, they spot you and they pull out. So I thought, if I had these stripes on, would that make a difference? And blow me down, yes it did. They still see you, but they wait, and in fact they seem to pay more attention. Now, whether that's because they feel always more experienced motorcyclists not wearing this over jacket, I don't know. Perhaps you might know the answer to this. I'm not sure at all. The contrast with the normal rider jacket and that's those stripes seems more marked than a full green jacket on top. Right, just going to nip across the A6 here. And we're also trying out something new too. This is the camera I'm using is the Picasso 7 rather than the one that I have been using the last few rides, which was the Picasso 7 LE, or limited edition, or I call it the light edition. I think it really is a light edition. It's not quite such a nice camera. It comes in a fully enclosed case, but the Picasso 7 is supposed to be waterproof up to a point, and it gives a better sound. I think the inbuilt microphone in it is better than the 7LE, but it suffered very badly from wind noise, as one or two of you will have noticed when I used it for the sort of static videos. So I became aware through one of my subscribers, thank you Frank, that Picasso do a foam surround. You can also get them for the GoPro, and I was inclined to get one for the GoPro and modify it, but then when he told me that you could get one for the Carso 7, I thought, well, alright, I'll spend the money and get one specially for the Carso 7, and that had to come from America. Postage cost me more than the actual foam surround, but I thought it's worth a try. But it's very effective, as you can hear on this. The sound quality is much better using this camera. The exhaust sounds much better, and there's no wind noise as far as I can tell at all. So apart from the bit of flare which you can see on this this view at the moment, and you can see that armband on the right, well, it's not an armband, the stripe on the right is actually glowing in this sunlight. And I must say, on this ride I had no problems at all with anybody thinking, oh, I'll pull out in front of him, he's not worth worrying about. So that was good. So yes, so we'll be using this Carso 7, and I've also noticed that it's only once or twice it crackled. And that was the problem I had with this camera. The sound went a bit haywire through using it mounted on handlebars, and that I think must have shaken things up inside and caused it to crackle occasionally. Now we do get a little bit of crackling later on, but it's of a very minor nature, so that's good. Now this little road will lead us up into sort of Arnside Silverdale area, and I take a different route, and then I get not exactly lost, but sort of. So there's that to look forward to. LanesExplorer gets lost. And what else can I tell you? Well, this bike is running in, and will be for some time. It's quite stiff still, the engine. But I've also noticed that when I set off, the brakes certainly needed bedding in. Towards the end of the ride they got a lot better, a lot more bite to them, as the pads and discs bedded in a little bit. But also the handlebars, I felt, were slightly tilted towards me, very, very slightly. And on this ride, when I used the indicator button, which is on the left hand side there were times when it wouldn't budge. I could not shift it, which was a bit annoying, I must say. I thought, well, what's up with this? Poor quality engineering perhaps. And I thought, well, that's odd, because the meter never suffered from that much at all. Once or twice maybe, but not much. So when I got back, I had a little play with this little button, and it was perfectly alright. I thought, well, that's odd. Why was it giving trouble on the ride then? And I realised if you push it at a very slight downward angle, not horizontally, it jams. You can't push it. And I realised, big bumps coming up. Oh, that's a bit painful. Yes, I realised that it was because the handlebars were tilted towards me slightly. That meant I wasn't pushing it in this horizontal manner. So I released those 4 screws slightly and tilted the handlebars forward very, very slightly, and it's just enough to make that difference. So anyone that's suffering with problems with their Royal Enfields, then that might be worth trying. It certainly is. It's completely smooth now. The button works fine either way, and doesn't give any trouble at all. So it's not poor quality. It was operator problems. So this was a lovely warm ride, I must say, and got my spring gloves on, spring and autumn gloves. I've also got a pair that are unlined, and they'll do for the summer, which I wore last year and the year before. But this is the first time out on a really lovely day for a long, long time, and very nice too. But yeah, this flare has been quite a problem on this ride. I definitely have to make myself a little lens hood, because I haven't noticed that before. But then it was very bright, and we are riding sort of into slanting sun. The hunter is sounding really nice actually on this ride. So yes, this is where I decided I'd go right rather than left. I knew where left would take me, that would take me to the Yellens. But turning right down this lovely little lane. Rather nice, wasn't it? I thought, well, I think it was signposted Silverdale. So I expected it to take me towards around the back end of Arnside to Silverdale, that route, but it didn't at all. It took me up past the bird reserve at Leighton Moss, which was a bit of a surprise, but it shouldn't have been because I have ridden this road before. In fact, I've driven it as well. Anyway, it's a lovely little road, and a little bit wider than the normal LanesExplorer roads. Slightly increases and then it starts to crackle a bit, so I think it must be a loose connection to the internal microphone in it, but I think it's quite, most of the ride it's fine. This is where we come up to Leighton Moss, which is on our left. The car park's over on the right. And this year at Leighton Moss they have bitterns. Now in the past, whenever I've come here to hear the bittern boom, although they claim to have bittern, they haven't actually had any. But this year they've had, I think it's been seven males, and they've come from Eastern Europe, I believe, flown in, and yes, they've been booming away. Rather nice. So we're just going to go along here. Now we know where we are. I'm going to turn off to the left, down towards Carnforth, and we're going to take the little road which we've ridden in the opposite direction up over Walton Crag way, which climbs up pretty high. I'm just going to swing off around to the left here. Pull in to let the engine cool again. which I've been doing every half hour or so rather than the hour which they recommend. Yes, I think I'll reposition those arm stripes. A bit cockled up where they are, and let's put them a little bit higher on the sleeve, out of the way of the camera. Across that railway line. Bridge coming up. And that was an example where that chap actually waited for me, which is most unusual. Just don't get that. They normally take one look at it, then just carry on. You may also notice there's a wire flapping slightly on the left hand side there, and that's coupled to the USB charging point, which is intended for a smartphone or something. So this one I'm trying to operate that indicator button, which worked in that case because I actually used it in the right angle. Yes, so the wire is plugged into that, and that goes to the phone, the camera rather, and keeps the camera charged, which seems to work really well, although it needs a bit of straightening out that wire. It's a bit flappy. Anyway, we shall sort that out too. So yes, now we're heading on up towards Walton Crag. This is called Crag Road. This is quite a favourite spot for people to walk. You get good views, certainly from up on the footpaths that lead up onto Walton Crag. You get magnificent views over Morecambe Bay. So yes, it is a favourite spot, especially at this time of the day, which is around about midday now. On a clear day too, very, very sharp over there. I think I mentioned before, when these the engines run quite lean, which is why they're so economical, and you get about 110 miles to the gallon. And this, which is I think that relates to 3 litres per 100 kilometres. I don't know, something like that. I can't work that sort of thing out. I only know miles to the gallon. And you can just get glimpses of the view over onto the right hand side there. And there's quite a few people parked up here, and they're having a bit of a break. I think there must be ramblers, and this is probably all their cars they've parked. I thought they would have shared cars a bit, not each one come in one car. There we are, that's where they are, having a bit of a nosh. And lovely views over to the right hand side there, and footpaths down. But yes, they do pop and bang a bit. These this Hunter especially does. The Meteor did slightly, but I think the Hunter does a bit more than that. Runs a bit leaner. Anyway, running down now towards Walton Village, and that's where I shall leave you. So thank you very much for sharing this ride with me, and I hope we can get out again with the same camera mounted on my chest and enjoy some more rides in the sunshine. That'd be lovely. See you soon.